as our regulars know, we do icebreakers for fun. I can see from your giant smile that you are ready and raring to go.
Right.
So, if you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be?
Well, I did have a long think about this because obviously, you could go hunger and war and stuff like that, and that's boring. So what I came up with was the super rich. I just want to get rid of the super rich and divvy up all the money that they have, and everyone gets a share. And even then, they get a share as well. But we have a sort of a ceiling on the amount of money that somebody's able to have.
Yeah.
Including their acquisitions and everything else, and there's a ceiling level. It would be very high, but at the moment we have such a disparity with the super rich and having so much money. And if that could all be knocked on the head, that'd be really nice. So that's. I mean, I could have come up with something a little more amusing or something a bit more sort of left field. But I think the way that humans are, we're always going to have wars, unfortunately, and so being able to get rid of the super rich would at least make us all a little bit happier, I think. Well, apart from them.
Well, you never know. You never know. Because you know what they say about the rich, like money doesn't buy you happiness.
It might make them all happy. I'm thinking along those lines. I mean, when people say that money doesn't buy you happiness, I just want to give it a go, I'm sure, I'm sure it won't work, but I just want to have a go at being rich and seeing whether it does make me happy. Because I'm pretty sure it would.
Well, I think it's like $200 million on the lotto tonight, apparently, So.
Yeah, that would be nice. Unfortunately, the odds against it are higher than the amount of money that you get.
There's this guy at my work that is just, I've got to get down and do my lotto. And he's been playing the same numbers for like 20 years or something, and I'm just like...
And the thing is that I could never play the same numbers because of those instances where somebody forgets to pay whatever. They've been playing the same numbers for 20 years, and then their numbers come up and they haven't bought the ticket. And that would be me. And I just couldn't cope with that sort of, oh my God, no, how can that have happened? I mean, every so often I'll buy a ticket just mainly because the missus tells me I should. And lo and behold, I waste about $10. So,
well, I think the few times that I have bought a ticket, I've just won my money back,
Oh, well, that's about all I've ever won. Yeah.
I mean, that's better. That's like, you went, you're in it, and here's some money back. Like, it's just like, you haven't lost anything yet.
Yeah, it's not a lot there.
All right, apart from winning the lotto, what's on your bucket list?
Oh, right. Well, okay. This is one that we've just come to the decision today. So this is hot off the press. We're going to sell our house next year and just go traveling. So we're actually going to set up a blog called the Bucket Nomads and just go traveling and see what we can see. And with the idea of heavily on yachting and sailing. So we'll initially sort of hitchhike on yachts, which is actually a thing.
Awesome.
You offer your crewing services, and people need more than somebody who's going across a big ocean. They'll want more crew, and so we can sort of jump on boats and see if we can do a circumnavigation basically by doing that, but also spend a lot of time on the land. So that's one thing. But on that, my bucket list item is that there's an old thing about having a tattoo on your ankle when you go through the Neptune ceremony. So the Neptune ceremony is sailing across the equator. So when you sail across the equator, an old tradition is you go through the Neptune ceremony, which it takes different forms, usually ridicule and wearing slops and numerous other things that people throw at you and the like if it's your first go across the equator. It has to be sail. A cruise liner doesn't count. And so I want to be able to have the right to tattoo a turtle on my ankle, which says that you've gone through the Neptune ceremony. And so that's my bucket list item, which I think was I'm currently a clean skin, so it'll be my first tattoo as well.
Well, that's awesome. Reminds me of that Simpsons episode with the stone cutters and the paddle ceremony.
Yes. I mean, I would have had a tattoo on my foot at some other point. I was back in the dim distant past. We used to be a marine biologist, and I was volunteering doing some research on turtles on a Heron Island, and we had 3 weeks of doing what's called turtle rodeo. Now, that's an interesting pastime. Basically, you chase turtles in a speedboat, and you have two people either side of the person driving, and you're the jumpers. And when you line up on the turtle, you jump overboard, and you effectively you have to dive with your hands in front of you, with the idea that you almost hit the turtle, so that you can then grab it, and you put one hand up to the neck, which is this is referred to as the knuckle, and another one is down to the bottom to hold the whole carapace, and then you flip the turtle upright, and then the turtle swims you back up to the surface. And then by that time, theoretically, the boat has come round and is ready to pick you up and the turtle. It got very interesting at times. We did get it quite gung-ho. We did have some interesting experiences with this. But one of the things is that the researcher was an American, and he came up with this old tradition that sailors would tattoo a pig on the sole of their foot, and that would stop them from drowning. And we would each day draw in biro on our sole of our foot a picture of a pig, because there was nobody available on Heron Island to tattoo us a pig. And I would have had one if we could have, but it just didn't happen. Apparently, I have looked into it, and the tradition comes from livestock would be kept in wooden crates, and when a ship went down, the wooden crates would float off, and the livestock survived. And so that's where the tradition of pigs basically surviving shipwrecks, and so people would tattoo the pig on their foot.
That's random,
very random.
Very random.
I think I don't know, but I know there's a huge tattoos have got a lot more popular these days. Yeah. But I always feel like a tattoo has to have a story. You've got to have something why you decided that. And the number of people I often ask people, especially the paramedics I'm working with, so what's that one mean? And what's this one mean? And most of the time, I'm like, it was pretty. So I don't really see that as a reason for putting a tattoo, because it's permanent. But anyway, yes. So that's my bucket list item, is to have a tattoo on my ankle with a meaning.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to Ryan's favorite question. Now, he's not here, so he can't pass as harsh judgment as he normally does. But I'll try take the persona of Ryan. And what is the greatest sitcom ever made?
Look, I'm going to, and this is probably really upset Ryan, but I have to say that I don't watch a lot of sitcoms. I hate the canned laughter, I much prefer, when we came over to Oz, I was quite surprised at the TV with the amount of adverts that were in them. And because UK has quite restricted times that you can put the adverts in, whereas Australia seems to just, you often, when you're watching a movie, end up watching more adverts than movie towards the end. Mm-hmm. And so we just tend to, at the time, and obviously now we just stream, but at the time we would buy DVD box sets and just watch those. Yeah. And I would not have bought a sitcom, but but I did have a long think about this, and then I had to go and check out whether it was verified as a sitcom or not. Yeah. And this is going to be way back, and you probably never heard of it, maybe. But The Young Ones. Have you heard of The Young Ones?
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about it.
It's basically Ben Elton wrote it, who has done a lot of he's done his stand-up, and he's done a lot of books and a lot of other comedies like Blackadder and the like. Yeah. But he wrote this one in his young days, and it was for students in a share flat in the UK, and they would always have they're only half-hour episodes. They would always have a band on, and I think one time they managed to get Motorhead on, playing in their front room. It was just random, really random, but it was hilarious and extremely violent as well, which was very funny. And so that's I'll have to say, is my favorite sitcom, because it is one of my favorite comedies, and apparently it is still classified as a sitcom because it was a half-hour stint. There was canned laughter, and it was situational comedy that went on. So, what's Ryan's favorite? Just out of
I think it's BBC Office.
Yes, that's far better than the US one.
He likes that. I'm trying to remember because he says it all the time when we do this.
He'll be listening to it and go, "Oh, for God's sake, tell him!"
Yes, yeah. No, I might splice it in here somewhere. No, but no, he says The Office a lot. He likes both. He likes both. He loves Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that you could probably watch them on YouTube now. They've probably been uploaded to YouTube as episodes. There weren't that many episodes.
No. Well, that's a staple of the British, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there weren't. I mean, it was. I mean, everyone knows Fawlty Towers. I guess that's another one. But that only had one season or something like that.
6 episodes or something.
Yeah. I mean, but everyone's heard of it.
Yeah. So, and IT Crowd's good.
Yeah. I love that.
That ran a long time, and you go, it's only 20 episodes, but it still ran a long time.
Yes,
No, my favorite is Scrubs.
Yeah,
which
you see these, I wouldn't have thought them as a sitcom, but I guess
no, it's classified. It's called because you got the single cam sitcom and the Scrubs is a more newer style. There's a term for it, but no, I loved Scrubs.
I just remember the surgeon, or was it one of the doctors, who's in the tea room pouring coffee into his to give himself a colonic irrigation. I was like, oh my God.
It was actually the first medical TV show to bring in surgeons wearing masks, actually wearing. Because
the reason they don't put the masks on is you can't see the actors.
Yeah. Yeah, they lean so hard into that with the jokes and like the eyes and they're like one of the surgeons hitting on this guy and he's got very feminine eyes. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I thought you were a girl.
There was a mate in the UK, paramedic, who, how should we put it? He would always say, "Would you?" Whenever he saw somebody as we're driving along, he'd go, "Would you?" And we used to joke that, his Pudsey was his nickname. And we used to joke, "Look, mate, you would, all it requires is certain anatomy and a pulse, and you would." And anyway, one day we're driving along and he's like, oh, would you? And as we went past, it was a bloke with long hair. And I said, "Oh, I guess it's just a pulse then."
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I could talk about Scrubs forever. I just love the writer Bill Lawrence. He's just everything he does. He did Ted Lasso after that.
Oh right, okay. That's one I have is on my to watch list, but I haven't got around to watching that one.
Brilliant writing. Last season was a bit, hey, how you going? Mm-hmm. But I have a friend who hates it with a fiery passion because it gets the Premier League wrong. Because that wouldn't happen. That that's typical Americans getting the
Yes.
Like on our last episode or episode before, he ranted for like 10 minutes on Ted Lasso.
Look, I will have to. I could say that's terrible. It's creative license. It's all that sort of stuff. And being a writer, you have to have a certain amount of leniency on some of the things you say. But I'm probably the worst person to watch anything medical on the TV, because I'll just say, "Oh, for God's sake," they're far too perfused to be dead. He's like, "Look, they're pink. Why are they still pink?" For God's sake, they're supposed to be dead.
I think back in the 90s they call it a ziffer.
What's that?
A ziffer. It's like someone who sits in the movie theater and whenever something happens, they go, "Oh, a ziff."
I'll mention that one to my missus and she'll like that one. Yes.
I have a mate who's a director, Matthew Holmes. He did a Legend of Ben Hall movie, like a bushranger movie, a while back. Got a raving reviews. He had a new one out recently, but he's the same. Like, so he's made this historical movie and he's like accurate to the T. But he hates watching historical movies because he's like, that's not accurate. That's not that didn't happen. And I'm a little bit the same. Like when I watch a true story, and then I go, oh, this is interesting. Oh, let's look into it. Okay, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Yes. There's a lot of creative license used in anything that's supposed to be historic or whatever. And I mean, the portrayal of paramedics in so many movies, is they don't talk because, if you've got somebody coming in and picking somebody up, one of your characters up and sticking them on a stretcher and throwing them in the back of the ambulance, it costs money if they speak. And so they don't let them speak. And we couldn't do a job if we don't speak. That's the thing. As you can see, I'm not exactly short in coming forward with respect to speech. And we have to ask them questions, and to find out how they're feeling, what they're, what's happened, all that sort of stuff. But every time you see them in the movies, they turn up, don't say a word, they throw them on the back and drive them in, and that's it.
You'll
and
figure
so,
it out.
Yes, yeah, but I think, and it's funny watching that. The fact, we're watching. Trying to remember what it was. We're watching Safe, which is on Netflix at the moment, and every time they cut to a scene of the hospital, they've obviously used the same scene because there's two paramedics going across with a stretcher every single time. It's the same ones. And you're like, what are they? Are they always there, just walking past with the camera? Yeah, so
that happens in everything. They use the same footage. But old show Texas Ranger, Chuck Norris show. They use the same footage for every single drug bust they do in the whole series. It's the same footage.
Well, I mean, obviously it's budget and stuff like that, but I mean, surely that camera would have been on that hospital for longer than the 3 seconds. Surely they could have taken the next 3 seconds to splice in for the next bit or whatever. I don't know. So. Anyway.
We're not TV makers. We don't know what we're talking about. All right, let's move on to the crazy one. Do you have a zombie apocalypse plan?
When I said I got the box sets of DVDs and stuff like that back in the day, we've got a full collection of Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, everything else Walking Dead. I've actually also played. I played a game. It's really sad. I'm sorry. I'm gonna out myself with respect to this, but probably for the last 5 years, I've played this game on my phone because obviously you get some time to stand there ramped and you can just sort of like do things and it's called Last Day on Earth. And that is a zombie apocalypse game where you basically have to build your base, etc., etc., etc. And kill zombies all the time. So I am quite frequently zombies is something that features a lot. I like the sort of genre of that. And so when you said, "Have you got a plan?" It's like, "Yep,
I know what I'm doing."
So my plan, as I have it, is I would. When you obviously get the news, I mean, reality is, as a paramedic, I will probably be one of the first ones bitten. So I'm probably out of the game anyway, because it's always the paramedics that die first. Well, apart from the patients. But the idea would be to either get my car or steal a very large truck, drive down to Bunnings, fill it up with as many tools, as much building material as I can possibly get in there, then drive straight down to a marina, load it up on the biggest yacht I could find, and then sail out and find myself a small island somewhere, and then build myself a fortress that I can then protect, and then also grow crops and stuff like that. So there's nobody else on that island, and then I'd have plenty of warning if anyone was coming nearby because the island's small enough to see. And so that's. I always sort of said that zombie movies don't deal with the whole go get on a boat and disappear, and then Fear the Walking Dead did. Fear the Walking Dead did was where they had them getting on a boat, and then all of the zombies that were floating were climbing onto the boat, and I went, "Oh yeah, didn't think about that."
You're just going to get further out.
They're all getting washed out in the river, and the rivers wash them all out to sea, and then there's the boats go along. They're all trying to climb back on because obviously they don't drown. But you would have thought they would have sunk. But so,
who knows?
Do you have a apocalypse plan?
Well, the thing is, I live in the mountains, so it's kind of like everyone that tells me, "Oh, just head for the mountains." And I go, "Well, I'm kind of pretty set where I am. I live in a town that's one road in."
Yeah.
I've got, albeit they're ceremonial swords on the wall, and then, I'm pretty.
Have you seen the scene from Paul where the guy says, "Don't buy the sword. It's not worth the money." And then he goes to take the sword out and it snaps as soon as he goes to use it. It's unfortunately, those probably won't work in a. I guess one thing I have noticed is that the skull strength of zombies seems to be really soft. I don't know whether that's part of the whole zombie process or becoming a zombie, but it seems that everyone can break skulls really, really easy.
Yeah, but I think it's just the MacGuffin. I mean, I went to this way back, so it would have been season 6 of Walking Dead. I think it was, and they had a big season premiere at the Sydney Opera House.
Oh wow!
And it was a free screening, and I was going, all right, yeah.
Oh yeah.
My brother-in-law took me along, and I think it was that episode. There's an episode. Maybe that episode or close to, but the zombie extra breaks character for a split sec because he's coming through a doorway.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those step doorways, and you see, step over the thing carefully. It was so funny. Just because they're usually really good.
Do that.
Yeah, just don't trip over. I thought that would have added to the theatrics, but it's just I'm one of these weird people that I watch extras just for fun.
Yeah.
It's better in older movies because the directors didn't care about the extras. They just just see so many stupid funny things, but now they actually act properly. But
now they're getting paid a lot more, so they have to.
yeah. So have you finished all of Walking Dead? Are you up to date?
I can't remember. We got to the point with Fear the Walking Dead where they all started becoming separate movies going off, separate series going off, and we haven't yet watched those because I think they disappear off Netflix or whatever and then go on to something else, and you're like, oh, do I really have to switch, pay this to go and watch just the rest of that? Yeah. I think we were watching them on binge because they all came out on binge, but I think we've finished them all. Yes, I'm pretty sure we have.
No, I think I just gave up. I think I gave up. I watched one season of Fear the Walking Dead. Never. It's not that I didn't like it. I just never got around to.
Yeah, it's actually. I think it was quite different from Walking Dead because you didn't have that main one leader that was running the whole show.
Yeah.
But. And it has, and there was a lot of more interesting characters in it.
Yeah.
So it's good, but then it at times it does get a bit silly.
Yeah. Well, I did notice that, especially with Walking Dead, all these places that Rick Grimes takes them to, they're perfectly fine, and if they never went there, they would still be fine. Like when you think about it,
Yeah, then you can just imagine, oh shit, it's Rick Grimes turning up. Grimes, what are we going to do? Quick, hide!
Yeah, well, it's just funny. And I know they're going to do it to keep the story going and all that, but it's good. All right, let's move on to time travel. This is one of my favorite questions. So Mr. Elon Musk calls you up and says, hey, I've got this new electric time machine. Let's face it, if there was someone who was going to make a time machine, it would be Elon Musk, and it would be electric. So he offers you to take it for a spin. One trip. Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, he probably wouldn't have any money left because I've already told you that all the super rich have gone. So his development has been drastically reduced because he hasn't got any money left. But anyway, so whether I trust getting into his time machine when his money's gone is debatable. But let's shelve that and have a. I did have a long think about this, and I do like the whole genre with respect to time travel. However, I do also recognize that the chaos theory dictates that if you go backwards in time, when you come forwards back into your time, it will not be the same. Yeah. There is no way adding somebody in at any point doesn't have a ripple effect that will affect the future. And so in that respect, I would love to go back and see the dinosaurs. I would love to go back and see different sort of like significant historical events. However, I would be too concerned that my presence would then alter everything forward from there, especially the dinosaurs. You know, you do one thing there, step on because you can't walk on soil or anything without killing something. And that could have been the, precursor for whatever further down the track. And that would then be a whole sort of like arm of a evolutionary sort of process that you've just screwed up. So in that respect, I would go to the future, and I would look at probably 1,000, 2,000 years into the future and go find out what happens, whether we screw things up, whether we are all left the planet and searching the stars and all that sort of and I would love, I really do like the science fiction aspect of space travel and getting into other planets and all that sort of thing. And so having the opportunity to travel forward and then see those in reality, that would be for me just amazing. It would be probably very difficult for me to go back. But then again, if I turn up and we're just this molten mass left on the planet and there's nothing left, or we're back to the dinosaurs, then I'll know that we've screwed things up. And
well, you can always send the machine back and leave a note.
Thanks.
Sorry, Elon.
Can you just invest $20 somewhere for me, and that'll pay for my travels now in the future?
Just put $20 in a bank account, and the interest will.
Exactly.